Hi guys, Martin from Belief. In this video, we're going to look at modifications we've made to the CRM integration and how we now manage Microsoft contacts. Now, the module hasn't changed significantly, but what we do with the data has changed quite a bit. So I'm in early December of 2025. Now, it was 12 months ago we notified guys that we were moving to a Microsoft first operation, and we always have been very Microsoft driven, but we had Yabber contacts for the purpose of email marketing lists. And as part of the broad sort of Microsoft integration, which we expected to take 8 weeks, by the way, it's taken 12 months. We're doing away with Yabber contacts entirely. So Yabber contacts essentially become Microsoft contacts associated with an email account in Microsoft. And it has permitted an enormous number of features to be integrated. Most notably, email marketing lists will now be categories assigned with Microsoft. One, there are no real limits to the number of contacts you can assign to Microsoft contacts. You've got 50 gigabytes of storage, even on a basic account, which allows for millions and millions of contacts. And there's no limit to the number of categories, which means it's unlimited mailing lists. And all this will become clear when I run through the video introducing the brand new sort of updated email marketing module. Now, the one limit Microsoft does impose on its API integration is you can only send 10,000 emails a day, which for most people is more than enough. It's 300,000 a month. So if you have more than that, the system will drip feed them over a certain number of days. We always allow 1,000 for autoresponders and just system-based emails. So your real limit is about 9,000 sent emails a day. And the statistical integration, the new statistical integration, is even more robust and more significant than the previous system. So we're really, excited to push that out, make that available to guys. So let's just select this CRM menu here. The first thing we're going to look at is just the basic CRM options. Now, one thing you don't want, by the way, the reason we've leaned on Microsoft Contacts, first and foremost, it's just an integrated, safe, secure, scalable solution that always belongs to you and isn't tied or connected to Yabber in any way. But you don't want, and you must avoid, at every opportunity, the multiple contacts in multiple locations. You don't want duplicity. So, and that applies to CRM systems. You only ever want to use one CRM system. You really kind of have to deal with what you've got and make the most of it. And I see guys with their aggregator CRM software, and then they have another piece of software on the side, and it's just a mess. In some cases it works. A lot of the ACO holders within national mortgage brokers don't like the existing version of Spark. Spark Plus still hasn't rolled out, so they'll use Sales Tracker, but it integrates seamlessly. So it's when the deal is finalized, they push to Spark for the apply online functionality and so on. And that's fine when the CRM software offered by your aggregator isn't at the standard where you need it to be. But most aggregators now, certainly the big 5, have a good piece of software. Do not use anything else for uploading for anything else. And that applies for us, despite the fact we have that feature. Try not to use it, and I'll talk about that in some other videos. So the first thing we're going to do is have a look at CRM settings. This is the primary CRM tab. Remember, Yabber is not a CRM. We're a marketing management solution, and we just provide middleman software, so middleware, which takes data from your CRM and your marketing efforts and does something else with it, and normally integrates with another piece of software. You've got my contacts here. I'm going to come back to that in a moment. And we deal with Microsoft Planner. You can use Microsoft Planner's Kanban board. That is a full functional Kanban facility. There are shortcomings because it's not a CRM. Once again, it's a task management piece of software. But we also can apply triggers to Planner. And I'll talk about the enhanced trigger module in a moment. So You know, OneNote, categories, tasks, Outlook, all these sorts of things. I'll come back and talk about another time. And a lot of them, by the way, will have to be updated to cater for a couple of small changes we've made to the system. So what I'm going to do first and foremost is select CRM, right? You must have CRM integration if you want Yabber to perform any functions on your CRM. And most of the time, that's just the creation of tasks and notes and maybe the addition of contacts and things like that. In fact, with the new system, what we're doing as a primary feature that most CRMs don't seem to have is just if an email comes in from a specific user, we'll attach that email to that user in your CRM as a note. If a phone call comes in via the voice telco module, we can attach that voice recording and perhaps a transcript. By the way, which we've always done. We've done for 6 or 7 years. Now we've just made it a lot easier to do. So as I enter here to the CRM module, no CRM profiles are defined. What is a CRM profile? It is a CRM and a user. That's all. In most cases, you'll probably just have one user, but you know, I've seen sales tracker guys with up to 140 users and stuff. Now, sync CRM contacts, we're not going to be able to do that yet because we've got no CRM profiles defined, and subscriptions. Now, this is kind of the real big important thing I need to talk about because it's something I want all our guys to do as soon as possible. Now, previously, the way we managed notifications, that asynchronous real-time updating from Microsoft, was managed for limited profiles. Now, if you don't know what that means, it doesn't really matter. I won't go into it. But needless to say, we kind of limited the functionality on the basis that we wanted to protect the integrity of your data. We wanted to keep all the data and information on your website. So what we've done is we've built a large encryption tool that enables these features to be provided. And I'll talk about in a moment. Now, Microsoft subscriptions. In fact, I'll select subscriptions from the primary menu here. What this does is it's going to enable the real-time connectivity between Microsoft and Yabber, certainly for the purpose of things like mailing lists and triggers, especially the trigger module, which we roll out as soon as we roll out the new email marketing module, which is called Nexus. The trigger module becomes really significant and allows a lot of features to be used that we previously only really made available to manage guys, like if somebody responds to an event, a meeting, or they accept a meeting from within Outlook or something, we can send them a text message, or perform other functions, or escalate them, or take them off tasks lists, and do all those sorts of things. So subscriptions, what I want you to do is to go and select a specific account which is set up within Yabber, and then select the service, Microsoft Contacts, Event Calendar. I will change that just to be Microsoft Calendars, because someone confused that the other day, to the specific calendar within your Outlook installation called Event or Events, Microsoft Email, and Tasks. Now, what I'll do is I've set up subscriptions for most of these. What I'm going to do here is set up a subscription for the support email and calendar. And what you want to do is just save that. That will contact Microsoft. It'll set up the asynchronous behavior. And what will happen as a result of that is every single time there's a change within that specific calendar, or a specific contact, or a change within email, or an email received or sent, Yabber will get a notification. So I'll talk about the significance of that in a moment. It can take a few seconds in certain cases. It will now, because I've got stuff running on this PC in the background. You've probably noticed it's running very slow. So that subscription is now created. Now, the important ones I want you to set up, or at least the important one I want you to set up right now for all of our guys, is Microsoft Contacts. I want that contacts functionality to be connected. And that's because when this email marketing module rolls out, you will need that for the purpose of setting up email marketing lists. In fact, if you just simply assign somebody to a list from within Outlook, so from within your desktop version of Outlook or the OWA, the web-based version of Outlook, we will add them to that list from within Outlook, and that will be reflected in Yabber within about 5 or 10 seconds. So select your email account, select contacts, and save. Okay, so these subscriptions should be set up for those services that you want to monitor. So if you want to apply triggers or you want real-time updating of certain types of information from in Yabber, you will need to set up a subscription or you'll set up that connectivity between Microsoft and Yabber. Now, you can refresh these services. It's kind of more of an admin tool and a housekeeping tool, because what it will do is it will delete expired subscriptions. Not that there should be any there, but there may be after a little while with password changes and all sorts of funny stuff happening in the background. So you can refresh all your subscriptions and that'll just update for a specific account. You can review your subscriptions. I apologize for the speed of the PC here, just internet is very slow. Notice I've got events here, a calendar set up for, a notification set up for support at believemedia.com.au, which wasn't set up previously. So I've got email, events and contacts set up for all those 3 services. So if any change is made to any of those facilities, changes made to a contact, an event is created or received or acknowledged or accepted or whatever, or an email is sent or received or whatever, we'll get a notification in our system. If you want to, you can delete any subscription. You can also select the little red cross here and that takes you to the same page I'm about to show you. And this will just delete a subscription if you want to stop Microsoft sending your account details. So if you want to delete it, again, just select the account and delete. So, okay, with all that done, I'm just going to go into the CRM settings here. And we'll have a look at just how to define your CRM system. Now, within our think tank, so within our broker group, that is a really high-performing group of guys that tend to drive this system more than anyone else. You know, those guys that are doing hundreds of millions a year, they tend to be very active in steering the future of what sort of systems we build. So again, no systems, no CRM profiles defined. I think I said this before, a CRM profile is just a CRM system with a user, that's all. And then sync contacts. In fact, I came to this screen erroneously before. We want settings, so I'm going to select this little settings menu because this is where we are going to define our CRM. Now, at the moment, Sales Tracker and Connective's Mercury Nexus are probably the 2 easiest systems to connect to and sync with. Infinity from Finsure, honestly, it's just it's a bit of a nuisance, and they pay for the privilege of accessing your own data, so you're paying almost as much as the subscription itself. My CRM just becomes problematic in that they are not particularly timely with issuing APIs and things like that. Even with Sales Tracker now, you have to jump through a bunch of hoops. They have a whole range of data breaches, so they've taken certain precautions with how their API is being used. And although if you've got an API that only gives you access to your data, there should really be no risk. But if you give us an API key for any system, we will integrate that system. We do have a module on GitHub, which shows you how to integrate with every CRM system on the market, and then how to format all supplied data for Apply Online so it aggregates a whole bunch of information and then creates a package that would be suitable to send to your CRM system or directly to Apply Online if you have the gateway. The funny thing is we haven't integrated all of that with Yabber. because obviously we do work on the side outside of Yabber, and anyway, that's a long story. So the CRM system, let's have a look. And select your CRM provider. There's limited CRMs, aggregators listed here. Again, because you can use, you can be with any aggregator but use any piece of software. At the moment, we've only listed Sales Tracker and Mercury. I will make my CRM available because those three pieces of software tend to be the most commonly used. Probably what, 60-70% of all brokers use one of those three pieces of software. Broker Engine is a bit of a nightmare to deal with in any respect. So in any case, if it's listed here, we can connect, and once you've done so, you can select the little API tab, and that will provide a facility for the endpoint. The endpoint in most cases will remain exactly the same. There is one particular piece of software that has a custom API endpoint, excuse me, and we require an API key. So once we have those two pieces of information, we're able to provide that higher level measure of integration that syncs data and allows for tasks and notes and all that sort of stuff. So the API endpoint here, I won't talk about Sales Tracker's GraphQL right now. CRM API key, the CRM webhook. If your CRM provides a webhook, that is for real-time notification of changes. Apply that URL here. In fact, I'm looking at the wrong screen. So this will populate automatically when we have approved your integration. A little red cross will go and you'll get a little green tick. So when you get that green tick, you will get a webhook URL here, and that's the URL that you'll copy back into your CRM, so where we get notifications. Power Automate is a really high-level feature that is usually custom built, but with My CRM in particular, we have, that's Loan Markets My CRM, we've enabled a whole bunch of custom flows there. What happened is through the middle of the year, there was a guy at, I think one of the sub-aggregation groups, named after a fruit, something like orange or nectar. And he was giving people information that wasn't correct. So we had to take a whole bunch of loan market guys and sort of course correct them. And guys had spent $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for something that they were never delivered. And the reality is most of those changes that were required could be actioned within an hour or 10 minutes even. So there are a lot of LMG or My CRM Power Automate flows that are kind of applied by default. I won't open that up now because it'll say that you haven't got any flows assigned to your account. So Power Automate, by the way, is just a kind of like it's a trigger system. So something happens somewhere, and Power Automate is like again, a piece of middleman software that'll do something else. The advantage of Power Automate, it will integrate with your desktop. So you can make a change to a spreadsheet on your desktop, and that change will be reflected in your CRM and, you know, by virtue of the connectivity in Yabber as well. So there's a whole bunch of cool things you can do that just minimizes that data duplication and improves upon your workflows. And by the way, our AI deals with all of this, right? Like, our AI is probably a little bit too advanced for, I'd say, 99.9% of brokers in the market right now. It's ahead of its time, and it's 3 years ahead of any other AI piece of software in the industry. So that's why we're sort of focusing heavily, just for the moment, on providing all this manual trigger related work. So once that's done, what will it do? First of all, my contacts. I'm reluctant to bring this up, but certainly once you've synced, once you've connected Microsoft, you don't need the subscription to sync your contacts to Yabber, but you will need that subscription that we showed you earlier in order to keep your contacts up to date. So I'm just going to pull this up. I don't want the contacts to show because then I'm going to have to throw it into Premiere Pro just to blur it out. But what I will do is try and catch the top menu straight away before the contacts load. So sync contacts. I'm going to hit that, and hopefully I can get that before the page loads. Come on, you can do it. So this will show you contacts, a whole bunch of buttons that'll let you perform. Oh no, there we go. Actually, that's all right because it hasn't got any emails or mobiles. These are the most recently added. It's interesting actually with, you'll see GoDaddy here, by the way, and Greg Donning, I don't know who that is, living, it's just Temu, servers, Australia, Google Search Console. It's just, the nature of those specific contacts are derived or are created on the basis of incoming emails. I'm going to talk about that in a moment because it's really, really important. So I can show you that screen. I don't think there's any issue with it. So syncing contacts from Outlook into Yabber. So you select My Contacts, Sync Contacts, select your account, and then select that button. That should be green because it actions the change straight away. It can take a day or so for all contacts to be synced, depending upon how significant your contacts database is. And I've seen guys with 20,000 and some with 200,000, some with 20 contacts. In fact, some with 0. So I won't go through that process, but what I will do is just talk through briefly. Once a calendar booking is received, once an email is received, once anything is received from Microsoft of any type, if there is a contact associated with that, so if you're creating an event and there are attendees into that event, we will create a contact for that person if that person is not already in Microsoft Contacts. If you send an email to somebody and that person is not in your address book, we will create that contact and plonk them into your address book. Why? Because they get assigned a contact ID, which is used broadly within Yabber for a whole range of reasons. So all their interactivity and so on can be surveilled. The statistical integration that comes from all of this is really significant. So we're able to see how many emails are sent and received on a certain day and from and to, and whether it's from your primary account or whether it's an internal communication, all that sort of stuff. Like the information there is really, really, really significant. So coupled with VoIP systems, obviously from a VoIP incoming phone call, we're able to resolve that mobile number through to a user. That user has to be in Microsoft Now because we resolve it through to a Microsoft contact. And if that contact exists, then we're able to marry and pair up the details. So from a marketing perspective, because obviously our focus is converting clients and you know, really serious high-end lead generation, that sort of understanding, that knowledge is really, really significant. So we understand, we're able to tell you with a degree of certainty, you know, how many days before a client will convert and so on, based on their integrated Yabber, so the communication and or web interactions. So there's some settings here associated with Yabber. Let's open this up and we'll just have a quick look. They're basic settings and they define whether we will save the message associated with, actually let's open here, can Yabber read and store email messages? I've selected yes. I would say for you initially, no, because you haven't connected your CRM yet, probably, and we only keep email messages for as long as necessary to send them to your CRM. So as soon as they're sent to your CRM, they get deleted. We don't want details on our PC. With the number of vulnerabilities exposed in certain software systems over the last 3 months, and so you just want to minimize the location where sensitive data is kept. So we only keep that, in most cases, it's for about 3 minutes. What we do with that email as well is we create, you know, keywords, certainly from within your title. We look at keywords, we look at from the body itself. We can do an AI summary, which can also be sent to your CRM as an alternative to the full message. Allow or add new contacts to autoresponder nurture program. Keep that as no for the time being. And you probably wouldn't be able to find the panel that allows you to define sort of an autoresponder program. And that applies for people that are added into Outlook for the first time. So sync contact changes to primary CRM. This is a big one. We'll probably remove this because we want your primary CRM to be your primary CRM. We don't want back and forth syncing because it never ever works. It doesn't matter how good you think it is because one data always has to be primary. So the primary source should always feed into other sources. Now this is an interesting one. Shared de-identified shared contacts. I would say as a rule, select yes. All right, this is not going to expose any client information. This is not going to expose any sensitive information. It's not going to expose anything. So why is it there? Now, a huge number of people I talk to say, oh, my conversion rate on leads is only 15%. All right, they've got a good campaign or an average campaign going, and they say my conversion, and 15% is like ridiculously low, right? If you're not getting 30%, you're just not doing it right. However, those outside of our program do have really low conversion rates. And that is because anybody that subscribes to one campaign will always subscribe to another. In fact, the average individual will always subscribe to 3 or more broker programs, and they'll always set up discussions with 3 or more brokers, at least 2, but the vast majority, the chunk of the bell curve there, users will subscribe to 3 experiences. So you have to sort of elevate your own experience and demonstrate those attributes of EAT that we talk about all the time in order for that user to trust you more. So what does shared de-identified shared contacts do? It will let you see whether a lead has subscribed to another broker. It won't tell you what broker or anything else. All it will do is return a numeric value. This particular user is also connected with 2, 3, or 4 other brokers, and it will give you a small time frame. So you'll know when you contact a client if they're on another broker list. And again, it's just a true or false. It's a Boolean and we're not exposing anything, but we want you to have access to the data that we've had access to forever. Because we're seeing guys lose clients simply on the basis of lack of follow-up or lack of providing an experience. We've always said that, the single reason we have provided a website, right, is because most brokers think that lead generation is a form on Facebook, and that's kind of like a pickup line. The website is the relationship itself. The funnel is the relationship. And those that excel in the latter will always convert that lead. Now, I see it all the time, and it frustrates me because I do see, and it does frustrate me and annoy me when I see the same lead that subscribes to multiple brokers that use our systems, which is going to happen because, we control such a large percentage of the market. So we're going to see that overlap, and it will always occur. Almost without exception, it will occur. And those brokers that are getting the conversions above 25-35% will always have the better follow-up experience, will always have a better video presence. And it's why I tend to shift and focus my efforts a lot of the time into creating that back-end experience, because that is where you convert clients. It's the objective reality. It is just the truth of marketing, right? You can't argue with data, and we have the data to prove it. So I tend to, I give a lot of guys grief in their advertising and so on. It's because they just provide an ad thinking that their follow-up experience and their nurturing programs and their website and all that sort of stuff will support their advertising efficiently or effectively, and it does not. So this little thing here, this little option here, will just show you if a particular contact is shared with another broker and how recently those contacts were connected with another broker. That's all. And if they are communicating, by the way, with another broker. So it will also tell you 5 emails, 2 emails, 2 phone calls, and so on. So it's really just, it doesn't serve any practical purpose, but it will give you an understanding, I guess, of when a lead goes dark or when they stop answering your phone calls. It will give you an understanding as to why that has probably occurred. So it's just data, de-identified. There's no privacy violation or anything like that. And I suggest you set this to yes. So that's that. So guys, that's that. So all I want you to do right now is, with your subscriptions, first and foremost, is I just want you to set up your Microsoft subscription. So I want you to connect your Microsoft contacts so they sync back to Yabber, and then I want you to go into My Contacts, Sync Accounts, or Sync Contacts, and then action that so we ingest all your Microsoft contacts into Yabber. Because the new email marketing system called Nexus, which is not public yet, or it's not available to anyone yet, super simple to use, by the way. It's really easy to use, but it relies on those contacts so I just got 3 or 4 text messages in a row. There we go. So we rely on those emails for the purpose of building email marketing lists, which is the only way, in my opinion, it is the only way in which to do it properly. So there you go, guys. Give me a call, 0400 777 300 at any time, 0400 777 300. Website, beliefmedia.com.au. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.